6 months. So as director of MEM, I had the opportunity to get to meet him, as well as other directors in the program. But Professor Werwath is someone that really struck me from the very beginning, from the first time we met, as someone who tells you exactly how he feels about it. And I remember my first reaction when I first met Mark is like, I don't think he likes me very much. And, but of course, over time, I learned to appreciate that unique style of his. He's very thoughtful. He's a thought leader in many areas of MEM, and he puts his students first. So this is one thing that I always admire from Mark, is his tendency to put his students first and sort of remind us as directors of programs that we were here to serve the students and to equip them with the necessary skills and experience to be successful in the career. So it's without further ado that I would like to turn it over to my friend, Mark Werwath.
All right. Thank you, Luis. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay.
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, the audio level's fine. All right, just to introduce myself a little further. Yeah, I'm Mark Werwath, the director of MEM at Northwestern. I've been teaching at Northwestern for about 20 years, but prior to that, I spent more than 20 years in industry, working in various roles of program management and project management, almost always in the area of new product development.
Side by side.
Are we still okay with audio?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. So my background is very much in new product development and in project management. And I did study artificial intelligence literally way back when in the 80s, when that term meant expert systems, forward chaining, backward chaining, programming in Lisp, things that probably you guys would have to look up in the history books to discover, because most of it's pretty much obsolete. Like every technology, it's gone through many iterations and many gyrations, probably 4 generations of AI. My undergrad was in robotics, which is associated with AI. And we've gone through maybe 5 or 6 generations of robotics in the last 50 years. So what I think is different this time is that it's actually gaining significant traction. And I think that's where Andrew Ng comes to mind as the founder of Coursera, pioneer in machine learning. He likens AI to like electricity, right? It's not just another technology, it's a fundamental shift. It is like electricity, it transforms everything. Electricity changed everything from the household to the factory to the streets, how we were lighting our homes, how we were heating our homes, and how we now have appliances that do a lot of the work that was done by hand prior to electricity. So AI is going to be just as transformational, especially this new generation of Gen AI and agentic AI, which is what I'm going to be focusing on. And in particular, what I want to focus on is how this impacts project and program management. And I'm not going to look at it necessarily from the tools forward. I'm going to be looking at it kind of from the needs of program and project management backwards. So it's going to be more requirements focused, right? And I know there's lots of tools out there. And I know there's a lot of videos and information out there about different types of tools. I'll go through a few of them here, but frankly, I think it's more important that we understand the basics and learn the basics, right? So let's set aside our fear or anxiety around these tools and put them to work to upskill ourselves and to be fearless in the workplace, right? AI and technology is not rocket science. Many of the tools that I'm going to talk about and that are out there are no code. You don't need coding skills. So that coding barrier is being destroyed or eroded almost every day. You can learn the basics, and sometimes the basics are all that you need. In my day, I learned spreadsheets perhaps as early as like 82, 83, 84. And that differentiated me in the workplace for many years. And I was able to do things that other people had no idea how to do, simply because I understood at the time VisiCalc, later Lotus 1-2-3, and ultimately Microsoft Excel. That simple progression changed my career and gave me a little bit more spotlight than other people had, because they didn't have the skills. Jennifer Way is the managing partner and also an alum of MEM, but managing partner of WZ Recruiting. She's a mechanical engineer by trade, MEM and then she went to consulting after that in Accenture. And what she has to say is that, she's seen how AI tools have sped up product development. She's realizing that the role of the product manager is even more critical than ever. She sees that as kind of like the hub, if you will. The product can get off track much faster, but needs to be kept on track through diligent product management, not just of the human worker, but the digital coworker, right? And we're going to talk in a few minutes about the digital coworker. But she said that if the traditional PM to engineer ratio used to be 1 to 8, she would advocate 1 to 4. So while we might be reducing the number of software engineers, the number of product managers and the demand on product managers will probably increase. So what do I mean by the digital coworker? Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI, talked about it in his blog as AI agents or virtual employees that could start performing tasks as early as this year. In fact, I know for a fact these agentic agents, AI agents, are already on the scene. They're already doing the work of what used to be done by human employees, now virtual or digital employees. We believe in 2025, we may see AI agents join the workforce, he says, and materially change the output of companies. I sat through a workshop just a few days ago, a company called Workday, teaming up with Salesforce. This is one of their graphics. They used to have a human workforce management system. That's what they were known for. That's what they were good at managing. This is an HR tool, if you will, that Workday has pioneered. And now they're morphing because they realize that the human workforce is perhaps, if not at risk, at least it's morphing and it's changing to a much more digital workforce, a workforce of agents, not singular, but plural. Agents that are going to basically have very specific capabilities that need to be knitted and choreographed together, possibly by project and program managers and or product managers, in order to achieve a goal of getting a new product out the door, or perhaps retiring an existing product or enhancing the products that are already out there. And oh, by the way, they're teaming up with Salesforce. I should have mentioned that. So this is Workday and Salesforce and their AI capabilities being, joining forces to take this challenge head on by creating a platform that will host multiple agents in a, I guess, user-friendly way that can be used easily on the job site. So let me predict the future for a few moments. I'm probably pretty bad at this, but I think it's not rocket science to figure out where things are going. New product development teams that are software focused will be hybrid in nature for some time, meaning human and digital workers, working together, collaborating. This has been happening on the factory floor for years, robots working with human beings. What's different is today's robots aren't necessarily interacting with the humans and giving answers to questions, being able to be interrogated, being able to basically offer answers and then pursue the answers to questions in between meetings. This is what these agents are going to be able to do that today's robots cannot do, right? So this will be largely driven by agents. This will be, at least initially, with humans in the loop. We're going to use that term, human in the loop, and directing these tools so that the humans are not just in the loop, but actually defining the loop and managing the loop and implementing the loop, right? Project managers will need to have general horizontal experience. So multiple agents, multiple areas of expertise, being able to effectuate and implement these agents and be able to exercise and direct these tools and know whether the output they're getting is correct or not correct. Is this a hallucination? Is this the full answer that I was looking for? And validating those answers in real time. Project managers, therefore, will be more than just humans in the loop. They will define and implement the loop. The question will evolve from what do humans need from these tools, which is maybe today's question. Tomorrow's question might be, what do the tools need from the humans? What can humans do uniquely that the tools cannot do, right? And I think this is a differentiator that hopefully helps you sleep at night thinking, yes, you might have a career. You might very well have a very fruitful career, not just for the year or two, but possibly for decades to come. Because I think for a long time, right, humans will have these advantages, right? So this last question of what can humans do that machines cannot do, we're good at building and establishing relationships with other humans in the organization, right? We're good at building consensus among those human beings. We're good at driving decision-making, knowing that decisions are a task, just like writing software or testing software. Making a decision can be put on a timeline and needs to be managed. Good at solving unstructured problems. Humans are good at communicating with other humans. We're good at strategizing and laying out tactics. We're good at holding each other accountable. We're good, in short, at better relationship building, right? That's what humans do. And I think there's probably always going to be a need for this. And I doubt seriously this will be automated. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'll be proven wrong tomorrow, because this is a very fast moving industry and technology. I think I'll pause for a moment and ask, is there a sense that I'm on the right track here, or am I on the wrong track? Any thoughts? Maybe they can be translated. Yeah.
Makes sense to me, Mark. Makes sense to me.
I really can't hear anything, so. Maybe I'll just keep going.
Hey, Mark, can you hear me now?
Barely, barely. It's very faint.
We're probably picking up the sound through the computer, but anyway, I'm just saying that makes sense to me what you're saying, Mark, so keep going.
All right. So let me make the case then for engineering management, right? So what we do in engineering management is we take people with deep vertical skills, whether it's mechanical, electrical, software skills, data science, right? And we give them this horizontal component that enables project and product managers to automate much of the product development process. So having that horizontal view, being able to think across the silos and being able to think about processes that are multidisciplinary in nature, right? These technical backgrounds that we typically have going into engineering management help ensure that the products being developed are of high quality and they're compatible with future roadmaps. That we're not designing ourselves into a cul-de-sac. That we're not designing something that's already obsolete. That we're delivering product of the highest quality and of the highest technical maturity that we can within the constraints of time, resources, cost, et cetera, right? Technical backgrounds will ensure that the tools are giving product and project managers answers that are accurate and complete. So these tools are providing us information, whether they're accurate or not, whether they're based on the full context or not. And hopefully over time, what we do is feed that back into the tool gets better, and it learns from past mistakes, it learns from information that we've provided, and it gives us better and better answers all the time. The OpenAI folks are talking about how efficient their systems are at writing code. And it's gone from being the 10,000th coder in the world to the top 50 coders in the world. So, and that's been over a period of less than 18 months. So it's quite possible that this year, these OpenAI type Gen LLM systems will exceed even the best coders on the planet, and they will become the best coders on the planet. The engineering manager, therefore, is a choreographer of sorts between the human and the digital team members, right? Recognizing what roles the humans play, what role the agents play, digital team members play. So if you just take a pause and say, what can AI do for me today as a simple PM task that are easily automated, stuff that you could do with tools that are off the shelf available this moment, right? Scheduling meetings. I can tell you now personally, this is a real hassle. Sometimes we go through a dozen emails before we can figure out a common time where everyone can meet. If people's calendars are openly available and scrapable by the AI, they can easily understand who's available when and how to schedule things by looking across the organization and looking at everyone's calendar in real time and creating some proposals, right? We can meet on Tuesdays at 11, we can meet on Fridays at 12, whatever that is. minute taking for meetings, right? Publishing meeting minutes, and doing that automatically and in the background. How many project managers are writing these things down every day and consuming valuable time and energy to do that? Project status reporting, action item reporting, right? So if the AI can access, for example, a code repository where code is being deposited for future builds, right? You can actually track to see, has every team deposited their code? Where was it on time? Was it complete? They can even read the release notes and tell you what's in there and what's not in there, right? Without human intervention. This is what human beings used to do. This is what system integration teams used to do. This is what project managers used to do, right? But we can automate much of the project management kind of, if you want to use the word grunt work, the work that is kind of, if you will, menial and repeatable and repetitive, and give that to the machines. We can focus more on relationship building and consensus building and problem solving, right? Automatic detection of scheduled deviations. So if they could peer into this code repository and they can see what was delivered, they can see if it's complete or not, they can see if the schedule is being tracked or not. And you can actually update the schedule automatically through the AI, right? Workflow management systems for change management and document review processes, right? So if you ever have a change management process, at least in my day, it was very manual, filling out forms. Today, we have workflow managers that are dedicated, issue tracking systems, enhancement request systems, change management systems. All of that can be fully automated and done in the background, chasing signatures, chasing impact analyses, and updating schedules and plans accordingly, right? Self-executing contracts, we already have this now. I mean, operationalizing a contract is something that project managers have historically done, right? Understanding the deliverables, understanding the tasks, understanding the dependencies, understanding who's responsible for what, right? Teasing all that out of a contract and automatically updating the plans in the organization is something that's already happening with self-executing contracts. So the contract sees a set of conditions and is automatically implementing those contingencies as specified in the contract, right? Automatic writing of a business case. And I'll talk about MIT Orbit in a moment, but that's one of the tools we've been using. In fact, I can share an example later if you'd like. AI applied to portfolio management. I teach portfolio and project management together as an integrated whole every year. And Keto has already got, excellent tools that help the portfolio management process and problem that every company seems to have. So here are some of the tools to consider, right? MIT Orbit is for entrepreneurs, automating the business case, business plan development, market segmentation, market analysis. Meta GPT is a multi-agent system that runs in Python. So I said we have tools that are no code. This is a tool that does require some coding. N8N is a more generic no-code multi-agent system that automates a variety of simple tasks, such as responding to emails. You can create a family of these agents and then implement each one as needed or automate them in the background so that they're automatically running and detecting when they need to act and when they don't need to act, or they can act on schedule. Something called Do Browser, which is about as simple, I guess, as it can become. It's packaged as a Chrome extension. You can pretty much download this now, and you can start implementing your own personal agents, maybe to book some travel, or to book a restaurant for your friends and family, or perhaps it's going on Amazon and shopping for a Valentine's Day gift. There's all sorts of options for you with Do Browser. Operator Agent just came out from the OpenAI crowd. They have two agent systems. One is operator focused, which is more automation. And then the other one is more research oriented for the PhDs in the crowd that want to get their, get their bibliographies completed and understand a literature survey in record time, in a matter of seconds. So what can AI do? And some might say they're not all here now, right? But they're soon to be here, right? Building products via LLMs, which means writing requirements and code, testing code, deploying code, automating processes via agents, creating content via LLMs, And from a project management perspective, I think it's more agentic in nature where, scope development and review, resource planning and assignments, project scheduling and updating, project and risk monitoring with risk responses built in and automated, response to RFQs from customers, and communicating status with stakeholders. These are the things that take up an awful lot of time and energy from the project manager that can be in many ways automated, right? So what do I mean by human in the loop? We're going to be directing and monitoring the agents. We're going to be verifying the information before we distribute. We're going to be making big decisions based on the information collected. We're going to work with stakeholders on a face-to-face basis to set proper expectations. We're going to work with the team, the human beings and the agents in the team to solve problems. We're going to meet with senior leaders to set the strategy and to adapt it and adjust it as needed, and to basically oversee the AI. That is my proposal to you, right? I mean, obviously every organization is going to make decisions for themselves as to who's the director of the AI, but I would submit to you, engineering, project and product managers, it could very well be you. So these are the areas that I believe can be applied directly to project management. I'm going to try to go through each of them quickly if I can, starting with scope validation. Reviewing technical scope documents. Every time I get an RFQ, right, it usually has a statement of work, technical specs, architectural documents, ATPs, et cetera, acceptance test plans. Reviewing all that takes a lot of time and energy, right, and resources. What if you can do it automatically? What if the agents can actually look at your capabilities as an organization and then review the scope statement to make sure that there's compatibility there? You're not making commitments that you cannot achieve, right? Assessing the feasibility and risks, trade studies, trade-off of risk, cost, schedule, reliability, making recommendations on scope changes to better fit the organization's risk tolerance. And here's a simple prompt, right? Review the attached scope of work against the capabilities in the company roadmap and in our solution portfolio, and report on any deviations or deficiencies and timing misalignments. There you go. I mean, that's not code. You can call it whatever. I call it a prompt, I guess a very basic prompt, but that will get the agent running and basically working in the background to give you everything you need. Instead of having a team of people looking at the statement of work, let the AI do it, right? Estimation assumes you have a solid record or history of actual costs to draw upon, how much time, how much effort, how many dollars are needed, earned value systems within a project management culture. Store all this data, right? You have it available, but retrieving it and using it in the estimation process is often difficult when human beings are involved. But if you have an AI, they can scrape that data and then literally look at it WBIS element by WBIS element to say, okay, historically, this is how long it takes. This is the distribution of effort needed. So they can actually draw you the curve, give you probabilities of actually achieving those dates, right? And so you're able to link the full context to the historical actuals in your organization. If you have a standard WBS in your company, like most aerospace companies do, you can link the WBS to the actuals, right? A Gen AI tool could leverage the historical data to come up with accurate estimates based on actuals, context, and resource efficiency. So here are some prompts, some basic prompts, right? Ask the system to analyze the requirements document and produce a work breakdown structure for developing this product completely in-house, right? Using the requirements document and work breakdown structure, develop an estimate on cost, schedule, resources, using existing in-house people on a non-interference basis. So this assumes now they're pulling from their calendars and their personal availabilities, skill by skill, WBS element by WBS element. So it's pulling from a variety of sources, which is what a team of people would normally do over a matter of weeks. This could be done in a matter of minutes using the AI, right? Develop an estimate schedule and cost utilizing existing in-house and create a resource reassignment matrix, assuming this project is the highest priority, right? Sample prompts. I mean, maybe this project isn't the highest priority. Frankly, it makes it a little bit more difficult now. It's just like, okay, where does it fit in the priority matrix, on the priority hierarchy? Once you have all this information, the system can provide sample resource plans and schedules to support that, right? A resource database. Hopefully your company has one. If it doesn't, it should build it, right? Resource by name, title, pay grade, work history, skills, and of course, availability on projects, right? So looking into the future, what project assignments do they have? Almost every consulting firm has this kind of database, right? I have yet to see it, robustly implemented in too many other places outside of consulting. In consulting, those human resources are their business, right? Linkage to project estimation, resource assignments, balancing the supply of resources against the demand, including vacations, holiday plans, planned outages, et cetera. They should all be in the database, right? Workday, as I mentioned earlier, has a platform for agentic AI that will orchestrate not just the human resources, but also the agentic resources, the agents, to make sure that they're available and that they can complete the tasks that are at hand. The advantage of this resource allocation, right? Significant capacity improvements. You'll be able to squeeze out additional resources from, the old processes of manually tracking who's assigned to what. Efficiency gains, and as well as, inefficient resource, capacity usage, et cetera, without AI. So in essence, getting more bang for your buck out of the resources you have. AI and planning. Right? So enhancing project planning using historical data, looking at the vast data sets that hopefully your company has so that you can improve accuracy in timelines and budgeting, and you can have better informed decision-making. So factoring in the full context of the project, right? What are the demands? What are the constraints? What are the goals, right? Following the work policies, 40-hour work week, 50-hour work week, what about overtime? Is it compensated or uncompensated, et cetera, right? As well as, understanding the portfolio, the roadmap of other projects, right? If you are interfering with another project on the roadmap, which takes priority, right? So planning leads to scheduling, right? So you're optimizing timelines now. You're actually putting dates on things. Some sample prompts for scheduling, develop a detailed schedule and impact analysis for the attached requirements in WBS, assuming the given deadline must be achieved with 80% certainty, right? Using, again, only in-house resources. You can change that prompt to say, we're willing to outsource certain tasks. We're willing to outsource the whole project. Tell us where we should go to outsource this, right? So there's a lot of ways you can prompt the system to help you in scheduling the project. From scheduling, we go to risk. Risk management is the next logical step in the project management process, right? A lot of the risk management tools in this day and age are really focused on cyber. And in that sense, there's many of them. For example, Risk IQ for threat detection, Qualys for vulnerability management, RiskMate for risk analysis, et cetera, et cetera. However, on generic projects that are in new product focused, I don't think that those tools are necessarily all there. So, maybe somebody in this room will be the pioneer to help build this system that will help us take risks that are associated with new product development and automatically detect them, automatically respond to them with the response that's been predefined, as well as manage them as a whole and prioritize them, right? So what's needed is a tool that can identify these risks based on historical data, right? All too often we put teams of people in a room and we hope that, well, they can brainstorm what the risks will be. You're limited to the experience of the people in that room as opposed to the history of the entire company. Every project that has ever been done. A company like GE or Microsoft has decades of history. A lot of the newer companies may not, but maybe they can leverage the history of other companies. But either way, that historical data will be what drives the risk analysis, right? Understand and assess those risks in the context of the current project and the current situation. A tool that can monitor these risks for changes or triggers that might necessitate mitigation. So you're constantly monitoring for these triggers. In the old days, we would rely on human beings to do that, but agents are going to be much more effective at doing that. They will see instantly and without delay when a trigger has been, achieved and when a response needs to be put in place, right? In human-based cultures, right, where you've got inherent lags, it could take weeks or months to respond to a risk that pops up. a tool that can automatically implement mitigation plans based on predefined scenarios, right? So from risk, let's go to performance monitoring, right? So how do you know, once you have a plan and you have it baseline and you've got your risk management plan set, how do you know that you're on track, right? I think this is where agents are exceptional at being able to track deliverables, dates, the quality of those deliverables, any kind of deviation from plan without delay and without politics. I mean, how often have we experienced the politics of the real world, people hiding bad news, people hiding the fact that they can't achieve their dates, people trying to spin their completions instead of actually dealing with what's there. So in a sense, I think AI can cut through most of that and get to the point of, hey, it's not in the repository, or if it is there, it's not meeting the quality standards, right? So it gives you real-time analysis, predictive insights, and automated reporting. And frankly, these things are largely being put in place right now, right? Some sample prompts for project monitoring. And a lot of this does overlap with communications, but update the project master schedule based on deliverables submitted to the code repository, right? Assess the quality of the most recent submittals, highlight any risk areas in the most recent submissions, highlight any deviations in schedule arising from those submissions, and update the EAC, the estimated completion for the entire project based on this week's submission. Just that last bullet alone might have taken a month or two to complete in most aerospace companies. But with these automated tools, you might be able to do it in a matter of minutes, right? So the EAC is really, in essence, looking at your schedule to make sure that you still have an intact schedule that's not been compromised. Then from all that, you can prepare an updated dashboard based on the above. And then from that, you can communicate to the stakeholders any substantive updates and risks. And you can customize that update based on what the stakeholders want to hear, need to hear, when they need to hear it, in what format, right? Whether it's written or verbal, or whether it's a face-to-face meeting, right? So what are the future trends, right? Advanced machine learning, blockchain integration, they're going to be revolutionizing the space even more than I've talked about here. So most of what I've talked about is internal communications within the company. Thanks to blockchain, thanks to some of these advanced machine learning techniques, we might be able to manage subcontractors, third parties, anyone outside the organization using financial transactions that are blockchain driven, right? So I'm going to give you 3 use cases. And then from those use cases, after that, we can maybe take some questions. The use case 1, bid response. I worked in a bid response situation, in essence, a pre-award project management culture. We were responding to maybe a dozen bids a year, maybe 2 dozen. Each one was a project unto itself. Each one took 6 or 8 weeks. We had to literally look at each page of the bid, the tender, understand the commercial terms and terms and conditions. We had to understand the technical requirements, the acceptance test plan. And we had teams of people looking at each one and then bringing it all together, ultimately point by point responding to the bid, right? Quite tedious, quite labor intensive, required a lot of collaboration and scheduling. I can see most of this being automated. I don't see any reason why it can't be. And it might actually be more precise and more accurate by having an AI respond. An AI that's trained and tailored to your company can respond to terms based on your company policies, which you codify, right? It's easy to miss certain things if you're a human being looking at all this information, but the AI is likely to not miss anything. And also to be very rigorous about enforcing the company policies about what types of bids. We can't bid, for example, when I was at Motorola, we couldn't bid something that was unlimited liability. So a penalty clause had to have a cap, right? If there's no cap, no bid. It's very simple, right? Respond to technical requirements based on your company's capabilities, your roadmaps, your inventory of technologies and implementations, right? Developing an internal project plan and a work breakdown structure, level set against resource availability and schedules, review the ATP against your capabilities, spec by spec, line by line. What's the power output? What's the power input? What's the VISWAR? What's, literally spec by spec, which by the way, took up an awful lot of time for human beings to do. can easily be automated, right? From all that, you develop a price proposal, right, with schedule and equipment breakdown and effort estimates. But beyond that, you also need to be fully aware of where your competition is going to be. I mean, it makes little sense to price your product, 30, 40% lower than your competition. You'd be leaving money on the table, but it requires BI, business intelligence, right? Do you know what your competitor is going to bid and how much they're going to price it and what they've done in the past? All of that is historical data. In many cases, it's public domain. It can be scraped and it can be put into the AI. So bid response was the first thing I thought of in terms of a use case. Project monitoring, when a project's in flight, monitoring everybody's work and deliverables versus their schedule, right? You can remind people that their deliverables are due. You can give them feedback when their deliverable is finally submitted, whether it's on time or ahead of schedule. So you can give constant feedback. Most project managers don't have time for this, right? Developing a project status report should be extremely trivial, right? To say, okay, different audiences get different versions of the report. Some are truncated, some are detailed. Spotlight problems that are critical to the project. Up to the minute information based on real progress in the lab. Lab servers can be monitored to verify the timing and quality. Emails to the stakeholders can be fully automated. So the project manager can review the status report and then hit approve, and then boom, it gets sent to everybody on the team that needs to see it, right? My last use case is portfolio planning, right? In portfolio planning, we're looking at not one project, but all of the projects at the same time. And you're looking to say, what's the ROI? What's the return on investment? What's the sequencing here? If one is delayed, will that cause the delay of others? What we want to do is more scenario planning to say, well, what if we deleted a project? What if we added a new project in? What if we resequenced the projects that are coming down the pipe? These are difficult things to analyze when you've got human beings working Microsoft project and working in data sets that are they're trying to manipulate these things and understand the different scenarios. I would think AI can automate that quite easily to tell you, okay, if you delete this project, the other projects get pulled in by such and such amount of time, saving you so much money. And here's the new ROI. So it gives you that kind of sensitivity analysis that we otherwise lack in portfolio planning that says, what if things change? What if we have a delay from our vendors? What if there's a hiring freeze? What if we have tariffs that are imposed by the federal government? Well, what are the impacts of these things on our portfolio? And you can see the domino effect that it might have. So latest budget forecasts, set of project priorities, a complete ecosystem analysis, which includes competitive threats and new marketplace opportunities, and then updating, of course, the current resource assignment matrix. So that is my spiel. I think we've got time for some questions.
Yes.
Can you hear me now, Mark?
I can't hear Luis very well, but maybe you can translate. Show me.
Yes, we just want to ask if you can hear us.
I can hear you, but that's all I can hear. I think you're using the microphone from your computer, right? Your laptop?
It's from the system, it says question. But
I can hear you crystal clear, but nobody.
How about you?
Any questions for Mark?
Yes.
Michael, so maybe you want to come here. Sorry. We're adapting.
All right. Hello, Professor Werwath. Thank you for your talk. I can really see the impacts that AI and agentic AI specifically can have, especially when you're doing product development, work on software especially. However, like I work in primarily construction at the moment. I'm working on a lot of physical systems. Any equipment I do work on is decades old and probably will not be updated anytime soon. And I don't have access to any data, and if any data, it's not really much at all. That could influence AI and really impact my workflow beyond, the grunt work that, as you called it. How do you see agentic AI affecting work like mine on more physical systems down the line? Because at the moment, I can't really see how it could really revolutionize the way I work.
Well, in your line of work, you take in a lot of physical deliveries of materials, raw materials, construction materials. You have a lot of work with subcontractors. All of these have transactions that are, I'm sure, digitized now, right? If you get a load of steel, you get a load of concrete, you've got contractors on site, they're invoicing you, you know when you receive things. So I think you can hook up your agents to these various electronic triggers that can then be translated into performance metrics. So I think you can at least get some performance monitoring from this. I think you can also probably help you with estimation. Once you have your historical data, you can actually say, okay, this is what we're capable of, right? You may not be able to get to all of the various, steps that I laid out, but I think you can get to a couple of them relatively easily, I would think, if the historical data is there. I mean, all of this presupposes you have historical data and it's digitized, that it's accessible in a data set. And I suspect you do, right?
Not particularly.
No?
Maybe that's something we need to work on first.
Lay the foundation, my friend. I mean, if you've got people that are invoicing you, how tough is it to digitize it? You probably have some sort of accounting software. You can start there, right?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
I
even
appreciate
project
it.
accounting software would be helpful too, to say, okay, have we got, the labor estimates and their actuals in some sort of data set that we can scrape later in the future. So this is where I think, all of us, and it's not just construction, it's every industry. In fact, there's many industries that for whatever reason don't digitize this kind of data. The sooner you do, the sooner you can build the capability for AI to come in and automate.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Mark.
Hey, Professor.
Yeah,
Thank
sure.
you very much for your time. Really appreciate you talking to us about AI because, not a whole lot of us are very familiar with the complexities of it. So you had mentioned earlier in the presentation that part of what differentiates humans from these AI tools is our ability to communicate effectively and to do relationship building. And that's a very important part of business. But you also mentioned that a lot of what these AI tools are going to do is stakeholder communication, along with all the progress updates and metric tracking and stuff like that. So my question to you is, as these tools mature, how do you envision they're going to evolve their relationship building capabilities? And by extension, how do you think that's going to impact our ability as humans to build relationship with business partners, clients, et cetera?
Well, I mean, I dare say that we're probably going to have some avatars that come up that will look exactly like us and sound exactly like us, but they'll be automating a message that's delivered from what appears to be me, but it's actually my avatar. It's my digital avatar. So is that going to enhance the relationship or detract from it? I don't know. I think in general, though, if I have a report coming out that's going to be shocking to my vice president, I'm going to call him or her ahead of time, maybe set up a face-to-face meeting. And at least as long as it's me and not my avatar, I'm going to literally walk them through that report and say, look, this is what's going out. This is what you need to know. This is how we're dealing with the issues so that they're equipped and not flat-footed. So I think the advent of all this AI will free us up to spend more time and energy on those relationships and to get the communications down instead of being so caught up in the grunge work, the day-to-day, turning of the crank, which a lot of project managers get consumed with. This is why we burn out. This is why we spend 50, 60, 70 hours a week on the job. And this is why our communications are kind of poor sometimes. So I'm hoping that at least in the short term, it'll free us up. And in the long term, we may see something like an avatar. I mean, we're already seeing avatars on YouTube. I mean, I'm not sure you can tell me who's the real broadcaster and who's the avatar of the broadcaster. And sometimes they label it, oftentimes they don't. So it could go there. I'm hoping that the avatar can also adjust the message for the receiver. Maybe say it in a certain way for this vice president, and say it in a different way for another vice president, based on how they want to hear things. Some people want all the details. Some people want just three or four words. So give me the summary, right?
All right. Thank you very much.
Does that help?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Sure.
Hello. Today,
Hi.
a lot of people are depending on AI to think for them. Are we outsourcing too much of our critical thinking on AI? And how do we balance leveraging the AI strengths while making sure it doesn't erode essential human skills?
I think outsourcing your thinking process is probably a mistake to begin with, whether it's to an AI or to another human. I think we need to critically look at everything the AI gives us and use it more as a foundation, a launching pad, if you will, so that we can build on it, as opposed to a surrogate or a replacement for our own judgment, right?
How do we make sure that uh, in the organization, people are not completely relying on AI and not eroding their skills?
Well, that was the question early on at the university, right? How do we make sure the students are not outsourcing their answers to the exam or to the homework? And that's always a risk. We can obviously use AI to monitor AI and say, okay, what's the likelihood that this output came from an LLM as opposed to the actual, author, the quote unquote author. So looking for those types of, discrepancies is something we can automate as well. I think in the end, we have to hold people accountable. So, I mean, when they're in front of you face to face, do they know what they wrote? Did they actually write it? Right? What can they go beyond what they wrote? What didn't they write? When you ask those sorts of questions, I think you'll be able to determine who's authentic and who's not. I think you're getting to the authenticity issue, right? I mean, what's authentic when we see? Do we know what's authentic? And this is a much, much bigger issue, probably worthy of another 45-minute lecture, right? Or discussion at least.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Professor. My name is Walter. I have a startup related questions. Currently,
Sure.
there are many people working on creating their startups and talking specifically in the AI agents world. There are companies going into the vertical AI agents, also role-based AI agents, and more platform horizontal AI agents. Which one do you think is the right business model for these companies? Do you think that at some point there's going to be like better business models for these AI agent startups?
Well, the role-based makes it easy to translate to what is going on in the company today, right? So if you have a project management agent or setup or family of agents, right, it's easier to package it up and deliver it to a company that has a team of project managers. So when you're translating from what we used to do to what we're going to be doing, right, I think the role-based makes it a little bit easier. I'm looking right now at something called MIT Orbit, and I'll be glad to share with you if you want in the next few minutes. But it actually does business model canvas. It does market segmentation, market research. It tells you your first 10 or 12 customers, all in a matter of minutes that might have taken a team of people 2 or 3 weeks to figure out. And literally, you can then put in multiple ideas and get a whole suite of answers in less than half an hour. Versus what might have taken the team the full quarter, 10 weeks to figure out, right?
Got it. Okay.
Is there interest in sharing that now? Would you like to see that?
Yeah, actually, I saw it in your suggestions, MIT Orbit. So
Okay.
yeah, that's a good one.
So it looks like this. I mean, if I have an idea that says, how about precision fermentation to produce baby formula, right?
Mhm.
It gives me all 24 steps in the Bill Olet process, right? So if I click on market segmentation, it literally starts filling out an entire grid of market segmentation for me. From one idea, I'm literally getting, an entire suite of answers here, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, this looks good. It will be really
So,
useful for me.
if you need help accessing it, let me know. I can introduce you to the folks at MIT.
Sure, absolutely. I'll reach out
Okay.
to you.
Yeah, I
Thanks,
think Luis has my email. He can share it with you.
Hi, Professor. My name is Joel. It was a great session on learning how AI is helping project management a lot. So I used to work in project management as a project manager. So at times I found it difficult to convince my manager that using AI is better because most of the time we have data that is very sensitive. So when we put in these data on how we are going to work or maybe the earned value that we are going to get from this into a third-party app of an AI, there is always a chance of losing your data, right? So I was thinking, how can we convince our managers once we are in that post again, or maybe in that position, to let them understand, like, our managers might be like old enough that they can't even sometimes get it, and our institution might be a bureaucratic one. So we need to convince them to do that. So how do you think we can?
I would work with your IT people to figure out how you can build your agentic and LLM systems behind your firewall. Once it's behind the firewall and you use those terms with your senior leaders, I think they'll instantly get it. They'll say, okay, in essence, you've compartmentalized the system so that there's no way anyone from the outside can see what you're doing, right?
Mhm.
I think that's their big concern is security, right? I mean, that's the big argument against this.
Even companies that, can I just add on to that? Like companies are not ready to invest on AI right now because like they don't want to their data to go into a cloud or maybe somewhere they don't know. So that's something that they are right now facing. So maybe you can.
Well, ironically, a lot of companies have their information in the cloud, so they are. I mean, right, it seems like a little bit of a contradiction. They're worried about AI because it might escape their confines of the proprietary information. But at the same time, they've got terabytes sitting up there in the cloud or petabytes in the cloud. So I don't know how to resolve that contradiction, except if you can build a localized system that's behind your firewall so that nobody else can access it, I think that'll address their big security concerns. And now with DeepSeek and others that are much more efficient, it's feasible to build these LLMs and these agentic systems behind your firewall. It can be done.
All right, Professor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
Do we have one more question or no?
so I think
Yes.
we're gonna go ahead and wrap up. So thank you, Mark, very much for, can you see me? Thank you so much for being here. A warm applause. Happy Valentine's Day. You know that at least one person loves you here, maybe two. Peggy is over there in the back, and then you can see her, but at least two people have love for you here. I know everybody feels love for you. Thank you very much for taking.
And I love all you guys back.
I think you help us visualize a future for MEM graduates, for our profession, our field, where we can coexist with AI and sort of leverage AI as a tool for a better career. So I hope that's the takeaway for our students here. We had a speaker, and we will have a speaker later this semester from NVIDIA, Mark. And he challenged our students to kind of not talk their skills on AI, but actually demonstrate them. I think what you did today is to help them. So it's not about writing algorithms. It's not about coding, right? In fact, coding is becoming commoditized or is challenged by AI itself. I think the opportunities for us to use our brains to sort of orchestrate, as you said, orchestrate this. And I think the other point I want you to remember about this is this authenticity. We're gonna pick up on that next week during seminar, but I think that becomes a critical differentiator for us going forward. So again, thank you, Mark. Have a good rest of your day. Take care.
Thank you. Thanks. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.